What would you do if your mother got sick? Not once, but over and over again. Every time she got better, something darker would come back, until one day, even the one who saved her gave up. This isn't just a story about black magic. It's about a curse that haunted one family for decades and never truly let go. And when Farah thought it was over, the woman in white came back. This is the story of Farah, a woman who once fought something invisible but deadly, a curse sent to destroy her family from within. They say monsters aren't real, but that's only because we stopped looking under the bed. Welcome to Under Your Bed, where the darkness has stories, and every whisper could be true. Back when Farah was just a little girl, her grandfather owned a large piece of land in a rural village. Farah's house was right behind her grandparents' home. It was simple, just a bamboo fence, a tiny shack. They didn't have much. But life felt peaceful, safe. She lived with her mother and 3 siblings, an older brother, a younger sister, and a little brother. Their father was working in Jakarta, sending money when he could. Then, one day, something strange happened. Her grandfather called Farah's mother. He pointed to the edges of the open land and said, "This, from here to there, that's the boundary of my land. Don't forget." Back then, people used green bottles buried halfway in the soil to mark land boundaries. It wasn't formal, but everyone in the village understood. Farah's mom just nodded, not thinking much of it. But just a few weeks later, her grandfather passed away. That's when it hit her, that random reminder. It wasn't just a message. It was his last will. He wanted her to protect the land. Months passed since her grandfather died. And then, the trouble began. A neighbor, whose house sat right next to her grandfather's land, started building a house. But here's the thing. They built it on land that didn't belong to them. It was part of the land Farah's grandfather had shown her mother, the land she was told to protect. So Farah's mother did what she thought was right. She approached the neighbor gently and said, "Excuse me, this is actually my father's land. You've crossed the line." But instead of apologizing, the neighbor snapped, "What are you talking about? This is my land," they yelled, switching into their native Javanese dialect. Things got ugly, fast. Farah's mom tried to explain, "Before my father died, he showed me the boundary. There's even a marker right there." But the neighbor cut her off, shouting, "You're just a daughter-in-law. You have no right. You're just squatting here." It was cruel, humiliating. But worst of all, no one else remembered the boundary. Not the grandmother, not the other relatives. Only Farah's mother. She was alone. One night, Farah's father came home from Jakarta. It was around 3 a.m. He was on a short leave from work. Farah's mother was still awake. She opened the door, smiled, cooked for him. They talked and laughed until dawn. Everything seemed normal. Then, the morning prayer call echoed through the village. The sound of adzan filled the room. Farah's mom stood up to get ready for prayer, but suddenly, her body froze. She couldn't move, not her legs, not her arms. Panicking, she turned to her husband. "Honey, please carry me. I want to pray. I can't move." He laughed at first, thinking she was joking. "Come on, you're being spoiled just because I'm home." But she looked him in the eye and whispered, "I'm serious. I can't move my hands, my feet, nothing. I think I'm paralyzed." That's when her husband's face changed, from joy to fear. She was fine just hours ago. Now she couldn't even lift a finger. He dropped to the floor in tears, and Farah's mother, tried to stay strong. At 6 in the morning, Farah's mother asked for something unexpected. "Call a kiai," she whispered to her husband. A kiai is like a spiritual leader in Indonesia, but Farah's father didn't believe in such things. He thought she needed a doctor, a hospital, not a prayer. But Farah's mother refused. She was from East Java, raised in a family deeply rooted in mysticism and old beliefs, and she knew this wasn't a normal illness. This was a curse. Reluctantly, her husband gave in. When the kiai arrived, he examined her without touching, just staring in silence. After a few minutes, he said, "This is man-made, not medical. This is santet, a dark curse, sent to destroy her." The kiai gave Farah's father a bowl of water, a piece of paper with Arabic letters, and told him to perform a night prayer ritual. "Do it at midnight or 1 a.m. Pray in front of her. Don't skip a word." He added one more thing. "This isn't from a stranger. It's someone tied to the land. Don't talk to the neighbors. Pretend everything's fine." Farah's father was still skeptical, but he agreed. At midnight, he followed the instructions. He held prayer beads. He whispered verses. A steel basin was placed in front of him, just like the kiai said, but nothing changed. Night 1, night 2. Farah's mother was still paralyzed. Frustrated, he returned to the kiai. The man said, "You have to believe. Focus. Pray like your wife's life depends on it, because it does." Then came the third night. It was 1 a.m. Farah, just 10 years old, suddenly woke up. Her room was right next to her mother's. She had no idea why she opened her eyes, until she heard it. It sounded like thunder, but when she looked out the window, the sky was clear. No rain, no lightning. She stepped out of her room and saw her father, sitting cross-legged, whispering prayers, holding his prayer beads. In front of him was the metal basin. That's when she realized. The thunder came from the beads. Every time they hit the basin, Farah stared. Then, her eyes shifted to her mother, still lying on the bed. Until suddenly, her mother started convulsing. Her eyes rolled back. Her mouth opened wide. She screamed in pain. And then, white smoke poured out of her mouth. Farah froze. The smoke slithered down to the floor. And then, it formed into a woman. Long black hair, a dirty white dress. Face emotionless. Farah screamed, "Dad! There's a woman! There's a woman!" Her father snapped out of his trance. "Where? Where is she?" Farah pointed. "She ran. Behind the kitchen." They both chased after the figure, but when they turned the corner, she was gone, vanished like mist through the wall. They stood there, shocked. Then they turned around, and there she was. Not the spirit, but Farah's mother, standing, alive, whole, healed. They ran to her and hugged her, crying. She was back, like nothing had ever happened. Farah had always been sensitive to spirits. Her mother knew, but her father never believed, until that night. That was the night he saw it with his own eyes. He saw what prayer and darkness could summon. And for the first time, the whole family could finally sleep. The next morning, Farah's mother was doing laundry behind the house. Then, a neighbor came calling. Farah's father walked over. "What's going on?" the neighbor whispered. "Last night, around 1 in the morning, I saw something strange. There was a woman standing in the corner of your house. I thought it was my mom, so I called out, 'Mac, what are you doing out there?' But she didn't answer. I blinked once, and she was gone." Farah's father just nodded. He didn't say a word. That evening, he went back to the kiai to share the good news. His wife was healed, and to tell him about the woman in white. The kiai listened, then said calmly, You already know who it was. Keep it a secret. This might just be the beginning of a war. Months later, Farah and her family thought it was over, but they were wrong. Just like the Ki warned, the attacks didn't end. They evolved. A few months later, when Farah was still in elementary school, the terror returned. It was a quiet morning. Farah's mother had gone out to buy vegetables, leaving her two youngest kids at home, both under 6 years old. As usual, the neighborhood was silent. People were at work, no one around. When she came back, she froze. There, on the front porch, a pool of blood, thick, dark. The smell hit her like a slap, rotten, metallic, heavy. No animals nearby, no signs of a fight, just blood. She panicked. With no one else around, she and Farah's little sister grabbed a mop and cleaned it up. They didn't know what else to do. A few days later, her legs started swelling, both of them. The color turned black and blue, like blood had pooled underneath her skin. From the knees down to the ankles, her legs throbbed in pain, but she hadn't fallen, hadn't hit anything. She just woke up like that. It was hard to walk, even harder to stand. All she could do was pray and cry. When her husband was away in Jakarta, she called the Ki again. The same man, he came, gave her a bottle of holy water, and simply said, "Be patient. The battle isn't over yet." Just as her mother's legs started healing, Farah got sick. A high fever, shivering, refusing to eat. She didn't want a doctor. She only wanted to sleep beside her mother. She clung to her, sobbing when left alone. Her mother called Farah's father, begging him to come home. He did. One day after he returned, as the sun began to set, right at Maghrib, there was a knock on the door. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum is a Muslim greetings. Farah's father peeked through the curtain. A man stood outside, wearing a white robe, a turban wrapped around his head. He looked like a holy man, a Habib. Farah's father opened the door. "Wa alaikum salam. Can I help you?" The man replied softly. "I'm a Habib from the next town. What brings you here? May I come in first?" He seemed calm, respectful. So Farah's father let him in. The man sat in the living room and asked, "Is someone sick in this house?" Farah's father blinked. "Yes, my daughter. How did you know?" The Habib smiled gently. "Because I saw a burning ball of fire hovering over your roof." Then he asked to see Farah. Farah was called into the room. She greeted him weakly. The man placed his hand on her head, whispered prayers, then said, "She can go back to her room now." Before leaving, he added, "May I pray here? And can I have a glass of water for your daughter?" Farah's father nodded and stood up. The Habib finished his prayer. In front of him sat the glass of water he had asked for earlier. He picked it up, handed it to Farah's father, and said, "Give this to your daughter. May it heal her. Thank you for letting me pray here." Then he left, quietly, humbly. Farah drank the water that same night, and just like that, her fever vanished, her chills were gone, and her mother's swollen legs also healed. The whole family was beyond grateful. Months passed, even years. The house stayed quiet. No more strange illnesses, no more curses. Eventually, Farah's parents decided to enroll her in an Islamic boarding school. She stayed there for nearly 2 years, but one day, out of nowhere, she got sick again. Her joints ached, her entire body burned with fever. Every movement was pain. The school sent her home. Because students weren't allowed to carry phones, her parents didn't even know she was sick until they saw her. When Farah stepped out of the public van, her mother gasped. She was thin, pale, barely able to move her hands or feet. Her limbs were stiff, locked. They rushed her to the family doctor. Diagnosis: chikungunya, a virus spread by mosquitoes affecting the joints. The doctor said it should pass within a week or two. But 2 weeks went by. Farah only got worse. She couldn't open her mouth properly, could barely talk, couldn't eat. Another doctor gave the same diagnosis: chikungunya. Her mother was lost, tired, confused. That night, Farah asked to sleep in her mother's room. After Aisha, she lay down and dozed off. But her sleep wasn't peaceful. She dreamt a massive black crow flying toward the house, carrying a blazing ball of fire. It hit the wall, shattered it. Farah tossed and turned in her sleep. Her mother gently shook her awake. "What's wrong, honey? What did you dream?" Farah's voice trembled. There was a crow. It broke the wall. Her mother paled. She'd heard something earlier. A crow's cry, right above their roof. She began to pray quietly. Farah kept pointing. "The wall, Mom. The wall is broken." Her mother checked every wall in the house. Nothing. All intact. She came back and said softly, "It was just a dream, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." The next day, nothing had changed. Farah's joints were still stiff. She could barely walk. That night, during the Isha call to prayer, she got up to use the bathroom. Every step was a struggle. She leaned on the wall for support. Then, at the back door, she saw her. A woman. Long, waist-length black hair. Tattered white dress. The same figure she'd seen years ago. The one that came out of her mother's mouth. Farah said nothing. She ignored her. She walked right past her. She reached the bathroom door, opened it, and froze. Inside, a creature. Tall, covered in thick black fur, fangs protruding from its mouth, eyes glowing red. It looked straight at her. Then, it jumped, straight onto Farah's back. Its claws gripped her shoulders. Its hand covered her eyes. She couldn't scream, couldn't run. Everything went dark. The next morning, Farah's mother brought her back to the doctor. Her mouth could barely open. She couldn't eat. Only the very tip of a spoon could fit past her lips. And now, she was walking hunched over, like something was weighing her down. The doctor looked at her and finally said, "This doesn't seem like a regular illness. Chikungunya shouldn't last this long or be this severe. Maybe it's time you called someone spiritual." That was it. They called Farah's father back from Jakarta. The same Kiai came again. He looked at Farah and without hesitation said, "There are more than 7 jinns attached to her. They're clinging to her like passengers. That's why she keeps bending forward. If we don't remove them now, they'll invite more, and she'll lose herself completely." Farah's mother was horrified. "Is this a curse, Kiai? Or did it come from the peasantren? She got sick while she was still there." The Kiai explained, at the peasantren, her illness was medical, but when she came home, the curse awaited her. It wasn't meant for her, it was meant for you, but she slept in your room. She took the hit. Farah's mother told the Kiai about the nightmare. The crow with a ball of fire crashing through the wall. He nodded. "The wall was the barrier I placed when you were paralyzed, a spiritual shield, but that fireball, that was the curse, breaking through. It shattered the protection." Farah's mother broke down. She held her daughter and begged the Kiai, "Please, please save my child." The Kiai gave instructions. Farah must not sleep on the bed. She must sleep on the floor, and he would return at 11 p.m. That night, at 11 p.m., the Kiai came back. He walked around the house, reading verses over and over again. He blessed a bottle of water, handed it to Farah, and told her to drink. Then, he turned to Farah's father. "Sir, your daughter is not here. Her spirit is in another realm, and right now, she's gambling with death. The one who cursed you wants someone to die, preferably your wife, because of the land, the old land." He continued, "Your daughter is in a coma, but not here. Pray that she survives. Pray that God allows me to bring her back." He then asked for garlic and coarse salt. Farah's father promised to deliver them the next day. The next evening, Farah prayed Maghrib while sitting because her body was still stiff, almost paralyzed. The first rak'ah, nothing happened. The second, still normal. But when she raised her hands for the third, a massive crack of thunder right outside her room. She jumped, tears rolled down her face. Her heart raced. She whispered in her heart, "Astaghfirullah, Ya Allah." Then, she opened her eyes. And around her, floating figures, men dressed in glowing white robes, floating above the ground, chanting together, "La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah." Over and over, they encircled her, surrounding her in prayer. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She could only cry. "Is this my death? Is this the end?" she asked in her heart. Then, a strong gust of wind. And just like that, they vanished. Everything returned to normal. Farah finished her prayer, trembling. She walked outside, still shaken, and told her father what she had seen. But her father just stared at her, confused. There was no thunder, no wind. "It's clear outside, sweetheart." That night, the Kiai returned. He brought the garlic and salt. But these weren't just herbs anymore. They had been blessed. They were now weapons. He asked Farah to sit beside him. He looked into her eyes and said, "This clove of garlic, it will decide your fate. If you can chew it and swallow it, you'll live. But if you fail, if it touches your tongue and comes back out, you don't have much time left in this world." Her parents cried. But Farah, she stayed calm. "I can do it. For them," she whispered. "Bismillah." With all her strength, she opened her jaw just wide enough, bit into the garlic, chewed, swallowed. Moments later, pain. Her stomach felt like it was being crushed from the inside. "Pakyai, I want to vomit." Her mother turned, shocked. Farah could speak clearly again. The Kiai simply said, "Go. Let it out." She ran. After weeks of barely walking, Farah ran to the bathroom. And what came out of her mouth was not food, not bile, but tiny black creatures, scurrying away like rats. She walked back to the living room exhausted. The Kiai asked, "Do you feel better? Did they all come out?" Farah nodded. "Yes." "Alhamdulillah, I'm healed. I saw them. They left me." Her mother fell to the floor, hugging her. They had made it. She was alive. Years passed. Farah moved on with her life. She was in her second year of a high school, but now her mother had grown weaker. Illnesses came more often, but she never complained. Blood pressure, kidney failure, monthly dialysis, and yet she smiled. One morning, Farah was getting ready for school. She saw her mother walking into her bedroom. She grabbed her bag, then walked to her mother's room, wanting to say goodbye. There, on the bed, her mother was lying down, but then a voice behind her, "Are you leaving now, sweetheart?" Farah turned around. Her mother was behind her. Then who was on the bed? She looked back, and the woman on the bed smiled. Farah stepped back. "Go away. Leave." The thing just laughed and vanished. Seconds later, her real mother entered the room, confused. "Who are you talking to?" Farah just shook her head. "No one. Just don't hide things from me, Mom. If you're sick, Please tell me." Then she left for school. Days passed, then weeks. Her mother was admitted to the hospital again. Farah and her siblings took turns staying with her. Their father couldn't come home yet. After 7 days, the doctor allowed her to go home. She looked stable, no signs of supernatural disturbances. But Farah knew. She felt it. Something was inside her mother. She begged her to call the Ki, but her mother refused. "I'm fine," she said every time. Farah graduated high school, but didn't go to college. There wasn't enough money. It all went to her mother's treatments. She got a job instead, an hour away from home. She rented a small room near work. Once a week, she came home to visit. Every phone call, her mom would say she was fine. But the worry never left. One morning, her father called. "Mom's going to Jakarta tomorrow with your siblings." Farah smiled. Maybe her mom was really healing. But the next morning, Farah couldn't focus. Her chest felt tight. Something was wrong. She tried calling everyone, her dad, her mom, her siblings. No answer. Then, her father's name lit up the screen. She answered, and her blood ran cold. "Your mom hasn't been able to move since last night. I called the Ki. He said, this time, the curse is stronger than ever. Worse than anything before. He gave up." The Ki, the man who had saved them so many times, gave up. Farah dropped the phone. Tears flooded her eyes. Her father whispered, "I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just praying that God sends someone who can help." The next day, Farah's younger sibling called her. They were in Banten, taking their mother to see a spiritual healer. Farah asked why, but her sibling just said, "I'll explain later." The next morning, Farah's father called. His voice was tired, broken, and then he told her the truth. Her mother had been in pain since Farah was in high school. Someone from the father's side had suggested Banten, saying, "There are many gifted people there. Maybe they can help." They went. The healer brought Farah's mother into a room with her father by her side. He placed his hand over her stomach, closed his eyes, then said, "There are nails. A lot of them, inside her stomach. Medically, it's kidney failure and infection, but spiritually, it's worse. If we don't act now, her life is in danger." Farah's father agreed. He didn't know what else to do. The healer took a kris, a traditional Indonesian dagger, and slowly stabbed it into her stomach. Farah's father panicked, but there was no blood. The blade slid in and then began to twitch, like a fishing rod catching something. The healer said, "Pull it out." Farah's father did. And from the wound, nails, one after another, rusty, old, bent, more than 20 of them. The healer shook his head. "It's too late. She needs medical help. Now." They rushed her to the hospital. X-rays revealed white spots everywhere. Her lungs, heart, intestines, liver. Severe infection. Her body was shutting down. She fell into a coma. But after a few days, she woke up. They moved her from ICU to a recovery room. Everyone cried in relief, but the peace didn't last. Days later, she crashed again. Back to ICU, and after 3 days, she passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May her soul rest in peace. After she passed in 2013, things got better. No more curses, no more whispers, no more shadows. But recently, it started again, around July or August. At home, Farah's youngest brother and their father kept arguing. Every little thing became a fight. The house felt heavy, uncomfortable. Farah was now married, living with her husband in Bogor. One day, her brother invited a friend to their house. Everything seemed fine, until their father came out to greet them. Suddenly, his friend froze, silent, staring, then whispered, "Let's go buy snacks." They left the house. When they were far enough, the friend turned to Farah's brother. "Do you know why I dragged you out?" He shrugged. "You were hungry, right?" His friend shook his head. "Number, when your dad came out, he was carrying someone on his back, an old woman, red eyes, long matted hair, dirty white dress, and she was smiling at me." Farah's brother went pale. "Stop lying. I swear to God, I saw her." Then it clicked. The same woman, the same entity from years ago. "Maybe that's why your dad's been different. Angry all the time, throwing things, snapping over nothing. You need to get her out, now before she takes him too." That night, Farah's younger sibling called her. They talked about the strange presence in the house. Since Farah couldn't be there, she asked a friend who understood the spiritual realm to check if her father was really possessed. She didn't mention the figure they had seen before, but the friend described it clearly. "There's an old woman, hunched over, wearing a filthy white dress, long hair down to her waist. There's a bukhul behind your house. Did your mom ever suffer from something not medical?" Farah's heart sank. Still, she wanted confirmation. She contacted her husband's uncle, who also knew about this kind of thing. Again, she gave no details. His answer: "A woman, same description, broken face. She's coming from behind the house. She needs to be dealt with, fast." Then she asked her biological older brother. No context, no clues. Same result. A woman, face distorted, long hair, dirty white gown. That's when Farah realized it was her. The same entity, the one that came out of her mother's mouth all those years ago. She decided she had to return. She asked her husband for permission to go back to her village. He agreed. The next day, Farah called a new Kiai, one specialized in extreme black magic cases. When the Kiai arrived, he looked up at the roof and immediately began to whisper prayers. Then he entered the house. In the living room sat Farah, her husband, and her father. The ruqya began. As the prayers grew louder, Farah's father winced in pain. His face turned red, tight, as if something inside was trying to push out. After the session, they sat down. The Kiai explained, "This is still connected to what happened years ago. There's a bukhul buried behind your house. It's been there since your mother fell ill, and now your father is the target. There are objects inside him, just like your mother. They're not visible by normal means, but they're there." Thankfully, the ruqya worked, and that woman in white, she was destroyed. The Kiai promised to return in 2 days to seal the house with protection. Then he asked, "Have you heard crows around the house lately?" Farah nodded slowly. "We've always heard them, even back when Mom was alive, even last night after I arrived." The Kiai nodded grimly. "That crow isn't just a bird, it's a watcher, controlled by a jinn, sent by a witch to spy, to check whether their curses are working." Farah was stunned, even when she used to live in a rented room near her workplace. She had heard that same crow. It had followed her, everywhere. 2 nights later, the Kiai returned. He arrived at 8 p.m. He asked for the 7 white eggs Farah had prepared. Then he pulled out something shocking from his bag. 4 pig bones. Farah asked, "Why pig bones?" The Kiai replied, "God created everything with a purpose. Jinns feed on bones, but the one thing they fear is pig bones. It makes them flee in terror." He went outside and buried 1 bone in each corner of the house. Then he blessed the 7 eggs. He told Farah's father, "Eat 1 egg per day. Don't skip. This is part of the cleansing." Since that night, the house has been quiet. The air feels lighter. No fights, no shadows, no voices, no more crows. The curse has lifted. But Farah knows you never really forget the things that come for your soul. Sometimes a curse doesn't just end with one person. Sometimes it waits. It waits for the next crack in the wall, the next weak moment, the next open door. Farah's family fought for years against something they couldn't see, against a darkness that wore a familiar face, a woman in white, a smile that mocked them, a presence that never really left. And even now, in the silence of the night, sometimes they still hear it. A single crow, sitting above the roof, watching. Because in this world, some things don't die, they just wait, under your bed,